Welcome everyone on my behalf as well. I am very happy to see you here. I think this is a topic that is maybe more difficult to access and understand, but very important. Um, and I work for Mozgásjavító EGYMI, which is an organization designed to support people who need physiotherapy and training to improve their overall mobility. CMT is a progressive chronic disease, which means that it does have a lot of psychological aspects when it comes to the support people need. It comes with a whole bunch of challenges, both for the individual affected and for their family. And there are a whole number of processes that go on. Emotional coping mechanisms come into play. Self-awareness has a major role, and so on. But before I delve into what I really want to share with you, I need to emphasize that all life situations are very different. Every individual is different. I will not be able to give you solutions that are identical and one size fits all. Work for everybody. They don't. I would like to share various aspects that can help you tackle the individual situation of the specific patient living with CMT. So, as I was preparing for my presentation, I apologize for because I may be blundering some of my presentation. I am not an experienced speaker. It's a lot more easy when it's face-to-face with families and children. But anyways, I think this is an important topic because living with a chronic disease, being the parent of a child living with a chronic disease still seems to be a taboo. We don't really talk much about this other than in conferences, which is very nice, but I see that even though there are more and more psychologists working at hospital and clinical departments which provide physical care to people, we still don't have enough. So it's understandable that these are issues that we need to talk about because people are lost without the appropriate devices to tackle their challenges. I enjoy fairy tales, good, nice stories that make it easier to cover difficult situations. And Michael Ender's Momo is one of those stories. Momo is a little girl who lives as any other little girl among friends and family when all of a sudden her world turns completely around. Everything changes. And when you are diagnosed with CMT, that's exactly what's happening to you, whether you are a child living with CMT or a parent to such a child. There is a loss, there is grief, there is the reality of the disease, but at the same time there is a willingness to act, to orientate oneself towards life. And I think there is a major tension between those two feelings and a positive mindset, but also all these difficulties. It creates a tension that is very difficult to tackle if you are on your own. It's very difficult to navigate the sea of emotions. And I think this is where I need to start talking about why the family and the environment is important. This is not something you can tackle on your own because you are a social being. It's much easier if you can rely on one another. Because of that exact reason, the environment and the friends you have play a major role as much as the experts supporting you. The medical experts, because a chronic disease is not about the moment, not about the present time ever. As soon as you have a diagnosis, your environment tends to be really caring for some time, they tend to be really supportive for some time, but at one point those resources may just run out. And from the perspective of all those people who are related to persons living with CMT, are at a loss because they don't feel certain about what they can ask, what they can even say. They don't really have a handbook, like what can I ask, what can I talk about, what can I mention, and that creates a wedge, puts a wedge between people and distances them, which is not at all a fortunate turn of the events. On the other hand, I think it also should be mentioned that if you are a person who is affected by CMT, it is very difficult to signal what your needs are. Even if you are at a relaxed emotional state at any moment, it's difficult. But when you are upset, when you are under a lot of emotional pressure, you lose your devices. But let me use a more positive note. Most people in your environment would like to have the right attitude. They would like to help and provide support in the right way. And the more information the environment gets on how to support these people, the better it will work. And while there are obviously exceptions, most people are actually interested in whether you would like to talk about something or maybe you don't feel like talking about something. So I encourage everyone to just be courageous and ask your questions openly, because it works. I have a list of professional speaking points that I put into my presentation, but I don't really want to delve on them. What I want to emphasize in my presentation is that peer communities of patients living with the same rare disease have an extremely important role, and our conference actually is trying to play that role in terms of creating peer communities. Because communities of patients of the same disease can, in very many contexts, actually help each other in practical issues, provide emotional support to one another mutually. That could be invaluable. And what I would also like to mention, and that's a quote that comes from Viktor Frankl, who is a psychiatrist, who was a psychiatrist who spent some of his time in a concentration camp. He thought a lot about how you can grasp onto some things as you experience a desperate situation. He said every day, every hour gives new meaning to life, and every human and the individual is expecting to find a new meaning in life. There is no situation in which life does not give you a possibility to find a new meaning to life, and there is no individual who cannot expect anything good from life any longer. Life does not require you to win. Life expects you to not give up the fight. This is something he wrote in 1996. Now, going back to the story of Momo, she runs into a street sweeper, and he says, well, sometimes you just face a very long street and you think it's tremendously long, it's way too long, and you will never get to the end. And every single time you raise your head and look down the street, all of a sudden you're shocked. You cannot do that. It's impossible. But that's not how to tackle it. That's not the way to tackle it. You should never think about the entire task. Just focus on the next sweep, the next breath you take, the next step you take, and then you can actually end up enjoying it. That's by Ende, and he wrote this in 1973 in his story about Momo. But I don't want to give off a vibe of fake positivity, because there are many situations when you have to talk to professionals. And with that in mind, I put up a QR code on the screen, which gives you a link to books, useful links on the web, applications, and aid services that might be useful for you, even if you don't have access to or haven't decided yet to contact specialists in person. Of course, self-help books and useful links and applications have their limitations, but they could be a very useful first step. And once you find your way around it, you might just mature in your attitude to the level where you decide to request individual or even family therapy. So feel free to access all this information.
Tudnak segíteni, vagy ahol érdemes keresgélni.
And I hope you find it useful. But may I just mention some of these organizations, more specifically Mosoly Alapítvány is a Smile Foundation, who provide psychological support to children with chronic diseases. They provide trainings and other events for children and their parents. Napkör, literally sun circle, is a mental hygiene foundation which also provides support to adults on individual and group basis as well. Napfogyatkozás, Solar Eclipse, is another foundation which provides self-help groups and sessions to parents of young children who are not developing in the standard average way. And also we have Lelki Egészségvédő Alapítvány, a foundation dedicated to mental health, which also provides individual and group psychological support. So these four foundations are also good points to start when you are in a crisis and you feel like you are facing a crisis. You are free to contact them and might be able to get the support you need. And I have come to the end of my presentation. And with that, I would like to say thank you to you. If you have any questions at this point, or anything that comes to your mind, I still have some time. So I am very happy to answer and respond. I'll give you the best of my knowledge.
Ha nincsen, akkor köszönöm szépen, és további.
If no questions, then thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your day.